I mean, yikes! Man, that is a sound, and that sound could probably be heard in the next zip code, and that sound comes from the lungs of a cat named Odin. And Odin's person, Maria, has written us from Medellin, Colombia with today's question, and thankfully she did, because Odin is definitely, I mean, you want to talk about a cry for help. Well, anyway, let's get into this. Maria is a little camera shy, so she wrote this out for me. Who could possibly be camera shy? The camera is fun. Anyhow, Maria says, my cat does that every day when I go to work, about 15 to 30 minutes after I left home. Could it be separation anxiety or just boredom? Does he need a cat friend? And Odin, by the way, is 3.5 years old. Great questions, all of them. So let's start getting into it a little bit. So here's the thing. I'm really glad, Maria, that number one, you asked me this question because I think a lot of other people can benefit from seeing something like this. Number two, really happy that you have a camera in your home. And for all you guys out there, whether you've been experiencing some issues with your cats or not, having these kind of cameras in your homes, they're incredibly beneficial to me. They've been invaluable to my work with clients. And look at this one. I mean, you would never know this was going on unless you had this camera. All right, let's get to what's going on with Odin. First and foremost, Maria, if you haven't already, if you haven't done an annual exam for Odin, take him to the vet. Make sure that there isn't something going on with him. For instance, something like hyperthyroidism could manifest in the kind of symptoms that we're seeing with Odin. Get blood work done and definitely check for his thyroid anyway. That said, what I'm seeing here definitely looks like separation anxiety, and that's also because you're telling me that it only happens when you leave the house. First of all, I think it's really interesting that for the longest time, folks thought that dogs would get separation anxiety, but nobody thought cats did. And again, that really plays into our misconceptions about cats, that we think they're just naturally so independent and don't need us at all, and therefore, why would they ever develop separation anxiety? Secondly, they tend to manifest the symptoms in ways that dogs don't. I mean, you come home and a dog has had separation anxiety, your neighbors are complaining because the dog started howling 15 minutes after you left the house, and your stuff is torn apart. Anybody who's had, especially a bigger sized dog with separation anxiety, knows what your walls, your furniture, your door could all look like after an incident like that. With cats, it can manifest differently. The thing is that Odin is showing just classic signs of, let's forget separation anxiety, really high volume of help me, I don't know what's going on here. Now, a bit of a disclaimer. As always, a chunk of video is always subject to interpretation. I can only take this plus what Maria is giving me and turn it into an interpretation based on what I see as symptoms. Let's take a look at some of the symptoms that we're seeing. Number one, right here, pacing. Pacing all over the place. He's not going anywhere in specific. He's not trying to get to a destination. He can't seem to regulate himself. He's going around in circles. He's just not able to settle in. The second thing is, now it's really kind of hard to see what's going on, but I'm just going to take a guess that if you take a look right here, what's in his mouth? It looks like he's got like a whoopee. He's got his little whoopee that he carries around with him. Again, so that's a self-soothing behavior. He's just trying to calm himself, but it's not working. And another thing that I thought was interesting is, take a look at right here when he goes into his tunnel. Now, that's the only time in this entire clip that he stops vocalizing, that he stops panicking. So he feels a little safer in his, quote, den, which is his tunnel. So we've got a bunch of really kind of obvious signs of distress, and not to mention that vocalizing. My educated guess, not knowing Odin, not knowing his normal vocalizations, not spending time with you guys in your home, I would say yes, this is separation anxiety. So what can you do about it? Well, let's take a look at some of the top suggestions I have for you. The first thing that you can do is switch up your daily routine before you leave the house. So that means, if you think about it, he knows your routine just as well, if not better than you do. He knows that in the mornings, the alarm goes off, you wake up, take a shower, you get out of the shower, you feed him, you start getting dressed, you're putting on the TV, then that winds up, your shoes are on, you grab the keys, and you leave the house. So switching up your rhythm in the morning could actually just throw him off a little bit. Just every now and again, you feed him first before you go take a shower, or you turn on the TV and then you feed him. The second thing is to go into play, ramping him down just a little bit. A nice hearty play session is the way to go. He gets that bonding time, he gets a little bit of exercise, and then you feed him his meal after that, and then you go. The third thing you can do is instead of feeding him a big meal in the morning, after you do playtime and then you feed a smaller meal, like a half-size meal, then you can use a puzzle toy. There's a lot of fantastic puzzle toys out there, things that also sort of change over time. You can make the difficulty different as he learns the toys. And then here's the big one. You don't say anything when you leave the house. You don't make a big deal out of it. You just leave. And I know that sounds cruel, but it's not. It's just a way of minimizing the import of you leaving the house. Cat TV is a wonderful way to just keep that mind going and give him something else to do besides worry. Looks like you have a nice big window in the backside of that place. You can give him a spot where he can watch the world. If you can put bird feeders outside the window, so then it's cat TV occupying his basic instincts while he's sitting around all day, that's really a great thing to do. These are tried and true methods that I've used over the years for separation anxiety, and they've worked really well. Now I want to get into something else. I've talked about the importance of writing a story about your cat. Oftentimes we don't have a lot of their history. In the case of Odin, this idea that he might not feel safe when there's no humans around. That could be a clue. But here's the biggest clue right here. After Maria described the issue with Odin, she continued with this, that she was passing a village on her way home at night. He was with a guy on a motorbike, and it was a cold and rainy night. He was all wet. He was full of fleas and poop. He was very scared. He was about 2 months old. That is a story, right? And now as we start to piece together this story, think about how that trauma early on in his life might inform his behavior now. It gives us a little bit of extra oomph in solving this issue. So perhaps he was orphaned. He could have been a week old and suddenly he's without mom and siblings for whatever reason. He is foraging for food. He's got no way to survive. He's picked up by this guy. This guy keeps him, feeds him, and really represents that only sense of maternal caring. And then Maria came along. But here's what I'd like to try with Odin. So, you remember way back in the beginning of this video, we were observing Odin's behavior, and what we saw was a real sort of cry for security and caring and the absolute separation anxiety. But what we saw clue-wise was, number one, the whoopee. And number two, we saw him quiet down when he went into something that could be perceived as a den, a base camp. So now, when we think of an individualized course of action for Odin, let's start thinking outside the box a little bit. We have all of these tools that I gave you, but now what about something else? Crate training is something that when we think about it for dogs. It's a sense of security for dogs. They sleep in their crate. I've had success over the years with crate training kittens specifically, and as they get older, they learn that the crate is a safe place. Now, I just want you to remember, there's a difference between a carrier and a crate. A crate is a little bigger, enough so that they can just be a little more free in there. You've got a litter box that can go in there, and their food, and what else? Oh, whoopee! You get where I'm going right now. I would like you to try training Odin into a crate. And so that means that whatever your morning routine is, you end it with a meal. That meal goes into the crate. I'm not saying to close the door, especially right off the bat. Just get him comfortable in there. This is his base camp. He's going to want to go in there because the whoopee is in there, because his favorite food is in there, and the only time he gets that favorite food is in the crate. Then what I'd like you to try, after you've gotten him completely comfortable, is leave the house for 15 minutes with your camera on, door open, see what happens. Then I want you to try it again the next day, door closed, see what happens. If he is chilling there, and by the way, you're not away from home for 10 or 11 hours or something like that, try keeping him in his base camp and see how that goes. When you've got a story like Odin's that begins so young in life, that includes a lot of trauma, and that manifests now as separation anxiety, you have this heart-based and fact-based cure for what's going on with him. But it does take some experimenting, and that's why the camera is such a great thing, Maria. Now, one other thing that, I don't know, depending on who you ask, they would say, oh, that's a terrible idea, or that's a great idea. I say it's a great idea. So, Maria, I say get another cat. Absolutely get another cat. It's an absolute misconception that cats are happier alone. They're not. And sure, there's a process in terms of introducing cat to cat. Big deal. Do it anyway. He just won't be alone. And at the end of the day, something that will help mitigate separation anxiety. That's just my take on it. So to recap, yes, Maria, I think you have separation anxiety in Odin. It seems pretty severe as well. How do we know that? Well, it only happens when you leave the house. He's carrying his whoopee around, trying to self-soothe. He also seems to mellow out a bit when he goes into his tunnel. All of these things are seeking to soothe, and also it only happens when you leave the house. So separation anxiety. Again, that said, go to the vet and make sure that it's not hyperthyroidism or a host of other things that could be distressing him. So there's that. Now, what can you do for it? We can enrich his space. Cat TV, different types of catification. Puzzle toys is a fantastic way on your way out of the house. The other thing you can do is switch up your routine in the morning, making sure that he can't predict what's going to happen next, even though, look, of course he knows, but it's just a little to throw him off. Also, adding as part of your routine playtime in the morning, getting him up with you, getting that energy up, getting the energy out, ending it with a smaller meal, and then you can leave the house. That's a positive routine, one that includes exercise and bonding so that he can make it through the day. We also talked about putting all of these pieces together, inserting the story of the individual cat, in this case Odin, and we then have individualized solutions for individual cats. Today we talked about crate training for separation anxiety. It's something to try. And finally, the Galaxy take on this: get another cat, at least one. And that way he has company. And I think at the end of the day, we all need a little help from our friends. And hopefully I gave you a little help there. I'm so happy that you sent this in, Maria, because again, these are the kinds of issues that we don't know about unless we see it. And I think it's great that you had a camera to catch this. And now there's a whole community of people that might also have separation anxiety in their cats, but now they have a little bit of help. And speaking of that community, if you know anybody whose cat is suffering from separation anxiety, and as you can see with Odin, it involves suffering, pass on this video, share it along, because the more we know, the more our cats will thank us. And in this case, Odin has got to be thankful because he's got a wonderful person like Maria on his side. Hey, one more thing, you guys. Now, as you've been watching this video and all of our videos, you've noticed some great clips. You know where those clips come from? They come from you, our Cat Mojo Rockstar of the Week. His name is Pitt. Pitt is from Spain, along with his person Alexandra. She said he's about 2 months old, or at least he was in this video, and he loves playing with anything. In this case, just playing with the motion of the washing machine. Now listen, if you got clips like this, which you know what, at this point everybody does, just send it on in to jacksongalaxy.com/submit. You see it here, we'll put it in the links below as well. And come on, your cat could be like Pitt, a rock star. All right, folks, until next we meet, all light and all love and all mojo to you. Wait, where are you going? Where are you going? Wait, don't leave. Whoopee.